degrees.
Thanks very much indeed. Now, as we've been hearing, 11 Supreme Court justices voted by a margin of 8-3 to give the say on when that happens with Brexit to Parliament. Theresa May will not be able to trigger Article 50 on her own. Instead, she'll be needing the backing of MPs and peers. Tom Kelly from Northern Ireland Stronger in Europe joins me in the studio. We're also joined by Felicity Huston, who's a former commissioner for public appointments. You would welcome this decision, Tom Kelly, I imagine. Will it make much difference, you think, one way or the other?
Well, the first part is yes, and the second part, no. I don't think it makes a huge difference, ultimately, but it does prove that Parliament's sovereign, and people who talked a lot about bringing sovereignty back to Parliament now know what it means.
If you want to hear what Felicity's saying, Tom, you can put those headphones on there if you can find them. Felicity, Brexiteers, of course, see a sort of plot afoot to stall everything. What do you think is the upshot of this ruling?
Well, not an awful lot. I mean, it's still going ahead. You know, the referendum said we want to leave, and that's what's going to happen. We may have a bit of manoeuvring around in Parliament, but it's still happening, and I mean, that's the most important thing.
Of course, the SNP, I mean, they're tabling a whole heap of amendments, 50, I gather, when the big debate comes up. I mean, that's stalling action, surely, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, it's just a desperation of the SNP. I do wish they would remember that Scotland voted a couple of years ago that it wants to stay as part of the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom collectively voted to leave. And that's the way it's going to be. And it's just a stunt from the SNP. You know, Sturgeon's constantly threatening, I'll call another referendum, but she hasn't actually done it. Sure, she hasn't.
And Tom, I mean, looking at the sort of European picture and the sort of disenchantment being felt in many quarters for Europe, I mean, is there a chance in any way, do you think, as someone who believes in Remain, that the nature of Europe could change to such an extent that we could still remain in it, given what's happened with the referendum?
I think there's a groundswell of opinion within Europe, which is obviously moving to the right or to the extreme left. But I read something this morning in the International Business Times, which was saying from Pope Francis, which basically turned out and said that, you know, we don't make good judgments in times of crisis, and I think that's true. I think that you need cooler heads. But we've been hearing about the euro's going to disappear. We've been hearing about EU's going to disappear for 45 years. It hasn't, and I think it'll withstand this as well.
I mean, another danger for the economy, Felicity, is this muddies the water, all this business about who says we can leave. A lot of people assumed we were leaving and that's that. Now we're told that's not necessarily the case. Well,
I think we are going, Conor. I mean, if any of the Remainers think that it would be a good idea, as an MP particularly, to go ahead and vote against us leaving when the clear mood of the country is to leave, and particularly many of those MPs, their constituencies voted to leave, I think they would be committing political suicide. I mean, it just would make no sense whatsoever.
Well, I mean, it was close enough, the vote. I mean, it's a sort of 50-50 thing.
No, it isn't 50-50, no.
It's 52-48.
Exactly, well, which is different. I'm an accountant, Conor. There's a big difference between 52-48 and 50-50. There really is.
But there's a lot of people out there who are still going to be working away to remain, and Tom being one of them. I mean, these people cannot be ignored, can they?
Well, no, but I mean, I think they have to be big enough to recognise what's happened. And a lot of people, I'm struck with a lot of commentators in the Remain camp who have said that, you know, they now recognise that things are going ahead and we're going to leave. They want to perhaps influence the nature of our departure from the European Union, and that's fine. We should have sensible, grown-up debates about that. None of the hysteria that some of this has been going on before, and that's fine. But I think, you know, people have recognised now that we're going. You know, those who say no, we're not, are really looking, you know, just barking at the moon.
Is it right, Tom, that Stormont shouldn't have a say on all this?
I don't think it is, because I think if you take the logical conclusion of devolving powers down, whether it's from Brussels to Westminster or from Westminster to Northern Ireland or to Hollywood, I think that you have to make up your mind that you allow people to make decisions about their own future. In Northern Ireland, we did make our decision about the future. Unfortunately, it's been overruled. I think we will start to look to the Republic of Ireland for a closer working relationship, because that's where our economic future is going to lie. Our economic interests are tied now to our nearest European neighbour, because there's is no good Brexit for Northern Ireland.
But as Felicity quite rightly says, I mean, Scotland is still a member of the United Kingdom, as indeed is Northern Ireland, and Westminster is the mother of parliaments, and they make the big decisions, don't they?
Well, as long as we're part of the United Kingdom, that's true. But I think that it may start to change the focus of many people in Northern Ireland, particularly the business community and agricultural community, because they have now woken up to the fact that there isn't anything here for us. There's certainly nothing for the agricultural community. The deals that have been talked about with Australia and New Zealand, these are deals that are going to bring in cheap beef and lamb into the United Kingdom to the detriment of farmers in Northern Ireland and in the UK.
When do you think, Felicity, that those who wish to remain and still wish to remain might be won round by Brexit, if ever?
Well, I think some of them never. I think some people are living in a delusional environment where they think it's still not going to happen. I mean, I think, the day we all get the new British passports, which don't show that we're members of the European Union, maybe then they will finally realise it.
I think some of us won't be taking those passports.
Well, that's we have that choice in Northern Ireland. But I do think, that it is time people realise that this is the way it's going. It's the same as when people can't accept the result of an election. People say, oh, no, it shouldn't have happened, but I'm afraid it did. And if you live in a democracy, that's how it works. And there are plenty of times when those of us have seen, with particular political views, have seen things happen that we didn't like, but that's how democracy works, and that's
no
our
further
bargain.
Than Donald Trump in the United States of America, I suppose, to endorse your argument. Felicity, thank you very much indeed, and thanks to Tom Kelly for coming into the studio. 27 minutes past 5. Nigel's in with the sport. What are you starting with, Nigel?
Well, we're starting with the news.